She got rhythm, got that rhythm of the road. She get crazy, she can go. But she just looking good.
This, I've called the Ted and Dave show.
Oh, that's the most accurate title there could be.
They wrestle control of the proceedings from Eddie, and he is now back to being just the guitar player. And there are 5 fucking covers on this album.
Count them. Oh, man. And I'll pull up the track list here and we'll get to them. But this, like I said, the first Van Halen album I got was 1984. The very first Van Halen song I ever heard was their cover of Oh Pretty Woman.
Okay. Yeah, that was a single, and I think it did okay.
Yeah, I remember we went out looking for my mom, my brother, and I, and my little sister. We went all out. She went to a record store. She was getting something. She said, we asked if we could get a record. And there's something about Van Halen. This happens with me and Van Halen, apparently. We wanted to get Steve Miller's Abracadabra.
Cool.
And we couldn't, I don't know if we couldn't find it, but I found this K-Tel album. So, I'm like 9 or 10 at this point. So I find this K-Tel album and I pick it up and it's got a train on it. So I'm like, this is cool. Let me look at this. And I see Abacab by Genesis. So I go to my mom and say, is that the same song that we're looking for? And she's like, I don't know. And she just picks up and she buys it. And so it was Hit Express by K-Tel Records, and it had Pretty Woman by Van Halen on it.
Right.
It was awesome. It had a whole bunch of cool stuff on it. I mean, it had Abacab by Genesis. It had Huey Lewis and the News on it, Rod Stewart, Foreigner, Van Halen, Hall & Oates, Joan Jett. It was a hell of an album. But that was my actual first introduction to anything Van Halen was Pretty Woman.
Cool.
So that song is always going to be one of my favorites.
I love it. To me, it's the version. I like it better than Roy's. Sorry.
I didn't want to say that, but I agree.
Yeah.
But that's coming from a heavy metal kid, though. So
now, Dancing in the Street, that song, Eddie, does. The chords are not the same. The introductory chords that whole part that starts the song. Eddie started that song as an original.
Okay.
Ted and Dave heard down, down, that whole part.
Yeah.
And they went, no, let's turn this into a cover of Dancing in the Street. And Eddie's like, come on.
Yeah.
Really? You're taking my song away and turning it into a cover, which I'm getting no publishing on.
Yeah.
So that's what happened, and he didn't want to do it, but they did it. Where Have All the Good Times Gone? Probably a Ted idea. Maybe a Dave idea.
Yeah.
Or a record company idea. Let's do another Kinks cover. That worked so well.
Yeah.
Well, they did get their hit in Oh Pretty Woman. So
yes.
Now, once I had, as a teenager, digested all 6 of these albums of the original Roth era Van Halen albums, this was my favorite. Oddly enough.
I love this album. I got to tell you, when Van Halen's remasters came out the first time,
yep.
And I feel like Van Halen is becoming like Iron Maiden, where every 3 or 4 years they just remaster their albums again, so everybody has to go buy them. So I love Iron Maiden, but screw you, Iron Maiden. So the first 2 that I got on my limited budget was 1984 and Diver Down.
Me too.
I had to get those 2.
Yep.
And just for Oh Pretty Woman, I didn't even care. And I love the rest of the album. I love Intruder is an unbelievable intro to Pretty Woman. I mean, it's just, I can't, it's just insane. I mean, they've just completely changed that song.
Well, this album has my favorite all-time Van Halen song. Guess which one it is.
Your all-time favorite. I'm going to say The Full Bug.
Wrong.
Oh, damn it. What is it? Because if
Secrets.
Secrets. Oh.
Yeah. I adore that song.
Really? That's a good poppy number off the album.
It's wistful and beautiful. I don't know. To me, it's a really, deep little pop song.
It's
Just,
it's one I dig
Eddie,
definitely on the charts.
It's the chords, the sort of like he's doing this quick but complex kind of stuff that just sort of floats by really quickly. And I love this is my favorite Eddie Van Halen guitar sound on this album.
Is that that's what he does? This weird like little harmonic intro.
That's the Cathedral.
Okay.
Intro, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just it goes into okay.
With the volume swells.
Yes.
Yep.
That's Cathedral. It's so neat.
Little guitars could give Secrets a run for its money for me too. What a unusual and fun, just like I don't know. That one always got me too, because he's doing this suspended stuff, but it's so fast and he makes it sound so natural and easy to sing over for Dave somehow. But what he's doing is actually for me really deep and complex, and I love that one too.
What are your thoughts on Big Bad Bill is Sweet William Now and Happy Trails? Didn't they do an oboe?
Well, perfectly appropriate
for this album.
Yeah. And they got to bring in, the Van Halen brothers got to bring in their dad to play clarinet.
Clarinet, that's what it is. It's clarinet,
yeah. And I think it was like a fun session. I think Dave and the old man were actually close.
Okay.
Dave really liked him and thought he was a cool guy,
Yeah. See, my understanding is that this is... Well, because they were pushing Eddie down, this is a fun sounding album. It sounds like they had a blast doing this album, but my understanding is that it was the exact opposite. It was just so tense and filled with anger, which is so weird to end up because the album ends with Happy Trails, and the last thing is you hear a bunch of guys cracking up in the background.
Yeah,
and it's just belies. It's
a great illusion.
It is. And apparently, I guess that's what Van Halen was all about at that time anyway. Because you saw them on stage, and they had a great stage presence, and they're having a blast. Eddie's leaning on Dave playing the guitar, and they're just...
You can't imagine they're fighting and screaming at each other backstage.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense.
It's insane. I mean, it kind of blows my mind that you could put on a show and be that good of an actor.
Right.
Because you look at the videos from that time, that not just the live videos, but the actual videos that they were making. What was that one that they made with the midget?
Pretty Woman, I think.
Was it Pretty Woman that they made the video for? I can't remember. I just remember it was they were running around in the dark with a lot of fog and a midget. And Dave, for some reason, David Lee Roth is just like Napoleon or something.
Yes, that's Pretty Woman. Okay. Yeah, but they used the Intruder intro for the whole video as well.
That's right.
Super odd.
It is
odd creative decision.
A lot of stuff is odd about Van Halen in this time. Oh man. So I don't know that there's much else to say about this album. It's fun.
No, that's good. Yeah.
I love it. And it
still listen to it.
Yeah. And then they took a quite an extensive break and they moved on to our next chapter.
Yeah, they spent all of 1983 making 1984, and the album was released December 31st, 1984.
Very good time. Intentionally.
I've chaptered it, Eddie's Revenge.
Very good.
He takes complete control of the proceedings by building his own studio in his own backyard.
Brilliant move.
Fuck all y'all.
Doing it my way, and you ain't getting my tapes.
And Jump, which he had been trying to get the band to record for years.
Yes, I did hear that.
he finally just plugged into that Oberheim, and Don Landy put it through the, what did they have? I think they had an API board brought into Eddie's place. He said he got it. He goes, "It's a piece of junk. I got it for $2,000." That's what he said in an interview. Yeah.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because look at his first guitars. They're all Frankensteins that he pieced together.
Pieces of junk, and putting them together. It's the way his brain works.
And he makes them sound beautiful.
Oh.
I wish I could do something like that with anything.
So he builds the studio, and then politically within the band, it's like he was trying to edge Ted out because Ted sided with Dave and vice versa always. And both of them were resistant to Jump. Eddie was like, he knew it was a hit, but he needed Dave to work on it and write a great part for it. So I think it was when he switched over to the Oberheim and kind of got Alex. I think they started the track already.
Okay.
And then they showed it to those two guys, and then Ted went, "Oh, okay, I see what you mean now."
Yeah.
And Dave just sort of was like, "Well, if Ted's in, then I got to be in."
Yeah.
That's how they started doing Jump. And I'll Wait is the other keyboard song. And of course, this album, put them into the stratosphere.
Oh, yeah.
Of popularity, but it is my favorite one.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah. Mine absolutely.
By quite a bit.
And actually, Jump is probably my least favorite song on the entire album.
And it's still amazing.
Yeah.
But
I've
yes.
I've got a question for you because I honestly don't know the answer to this. What was with the extra whoa in the video?
Did we already talk about this? Because I thought I was the only person in the world that knows or that asks this question, and I don't know. Other than it had to have been a single mix. But
I've never seen that.
Only made for a video, a separate mix made for video because I had and have the 7-inch single, and it's not on that, which is the single edit for Jump.
But that's the only difference is that extra whoa.
Yeah.
So what?
I want to know. So
all right, we
need to ask someone.
We're going to have to get David Lee Roth or Ted Templeman on here. I don't know. Is Ted still alive? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. One of those people.
I'm pretty sure David Lee Roth is still alive, so maybe we can get him on.
Yes.
We can ask him.
Yeah. But man, Eddie was right at this time of his life. Like, he knew what he was doing.
Oh, yeah.
This album is a juggernaut of creativity, of really great top vibes too. Just like this album came out in the summer of '84, which I consider to be the greatest year of all time. As far as pop music goes.
Yeah.
And I got this album on cassette. I was 11. I was cruising around with my mom in this diesel Riviera with a sunroof. It was all white, and it had a kick-ass cassette sound system in the car.
Nice.
And she would let me crank it up driving downtown to get on the boat. And then super hi-fi car stereo.
Oh, yeah.
Sounded amazing.
Pioneers and Kenwoods.
Yeah. Even then, though, the deeper tracks like Drop Dead Legs was my favorite.
That is
immediately.
Dead ass. That is my favorite song.
It could be mine too. I'm all over the place with my favorites. Never trust me when I say it's my favorite. My kids bust me on it all the time.
Really?
Oh, this is like your 200th favorite song.
It's hard to pick though. I mean, it's definitely I think my favorite song off this album, probably out of their entire catalog. But Girl Gone Bad, House of Pain, they're all incredible. They're so heavy.
There's a great book that is on my shelf over there. What the heck is it called? It's kind of like the first highbrow book written about Van Halen.
Oh, okay.
So it's called Van Halen, Exuberant California Zen Rock and Roll by John Scanlon.
I've never heard of that. That's a great title.
It's an incredible book.
Really? Oh, I'll have to check it out.
Incredible. It's a smarty pants book about Van Halen, and he makes a link between what Van Halen is up to, Eddie Van Halen particularly, and what Charlie Parker was up to, harmonically.
Really?
And and he uses "Girl Gone Bad" as sort of like the the prime example. And I don't know a whole lot about jazz, but I threw on some stuff, and I was like, "Oh, I see what he's talking about."
Oh, I don't know.
Like,
a lot
listen
about
to how weird those intro chords are. You know that boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
So all little chords that he's like harmonic. Like I think he's playing harmonics on the guitar on that.
Yeah.
But it's chordally and harmonically, it's really odd and unusual. And Dave just slides so perfectly over top of it on House of Pain and Girl Gone Bad. I mean, Girl Gone Bad must have been I cannot imagine writing vocals over that. It's just, they would have had the instrumental track done, and then they would have given it to him, and he somehow knows what to do with Eddie's music. It's really amazing.
Yeah, and at that point, you would think that this album had a little bit of everything for these guys. You had the poppier stuff for Dave, you had the heavier stuff and the more complex stuff for Eddie, and it ended up tearing the entire band apart instead of bringing them together. And
it's odd that Dave didn't want to sing the hit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that was Eddie's.
It was so weird because that's the thing that you would figure would bring them together. And between that and doing those amazing videos that they did.
Yeah.
Hot for
I think
Teacher.
It was Dave and Pete Angelis. Those two guys did the videos together mostly. They're outrageous, and they really captured we were 11, and so this was like the first. They hadn't really done the Pretty Woman video. Didn't get a lot of play, and I think it was probably good
cheap.
that it didn't get a lot of play. Yeah, it looked really cheap. And by 1982, people were the budgets were getting bigger. By 83, video was everywhere, and 84, it was king. So Dave knew this. Eddie didn't give a toss. He's just like, okay, do what you got to do. I think they did Jump for a couple $1,000, like $3,000 or something real cheap. And Dave and Pete edited it, and then I think they got a bit of a budget for Panama because they did that shot at that hotel where Eddie's getting let out of a hotel room, cops or whatever. Or Dave is, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's Dave in the towel.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And Eddie's blowing smoke rings at with the piano in the hotel room.
Yes,
I love that shot.
And then they did Hot for Teacher with "Sit Down, Waldo."
I mean, that one was.
That was phenomenal.
It was interesting because the song is basically a sped up, psychotic ZZ Top, boogie.
Yeah.
It's a real ZZ Top boogie, but sped way, way up.
Yeah.
And it just has, the solo is unbelievable. It's so beautiful.
Well,
and there's no overdubs on that. That's just one guitar, bass, and drums on that song, which is amazing. Yeah.
And at 11 years old, I hear the intro, and I'm thinking that Alex Van Halen is the best drummer ever. It's just, it's just insane. Which, there's a whole debate about how good of a drummer he is, but that intro is just crazy.
Yeah.
Especially when you're preteen or a teenager. It's just,
you can't imagine.
No, it's
how anyone could possibly do that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that album was just so powerful, and maybe it's just because it hit you and I at such a pivotal time in our lives. But I think it's just because it's a freaking good album.
It's a beautifully balanced album, and it presented a mood that was super attractive at that time.
Oh yeah.
And Jump, as much as it's the big hit that everyone may have grown a bit tired of, it's when I hear it, I still love it. And what I hear is I hear melancholy in that chorus, or in that pre-chorus especially.
Oh yeah.
There's it's not this totally happy song.
No.
It's a little bit fatalistic, and a little bit like, oh shit.
Can't you see me standing here? I got my back against the record machine.
I ain't the best that you've seen, he's rating himself as mediocre or medium,
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I can listen to that album now and it instantly, I'm 11 years old again.
Top Jimmy is such a fun romp.
Yep. It is.
Dave tells a great tale about a guy he used to see play in the clubs around LA.
Okay.
And sort of like took some creative license and made the story a little bit more fun.
Hey, like good songwriters do.
Yep. And Eddie does some stuff that we've never heard before again.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like this sort of sped up Chet Atkins thing or something, right?
Yeah. That's exactly, I didn't think about that. It's like some weird chicken picking or something. I don't know what it is that he's doing. It's just really cool. And that whole album, especially at that time in my life, it was filled with stuff I'd never heard before.
Yeah. But the drums on it's like I remember hearing this song so much at fairgrounds.
Okay.
That summer,
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Where like you'd go around to each ride, and each ride would have like, a really tough looking teenage kid with their own sound system.
Yeah, some teenage carny with tattoos
so you
already.
You hear all these like metal songs playing from everywhere, and they're always like playing metal. And that summer, I remember hearing a lot of side 2 of 1984.
I remember hearing Panama everywhere I went.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, some reason teenagers are running carny rides and they've already got tattoos and they're smoking. And I'm like,
yeah, to me, Panama might be the only one that actually sounds like what you'd expect Van Halen to sound like on the album.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's the only song that maybe you could have imagined on Women and Children First, kind of,
Yeah, I could see that. And then,
but no other song could you imagine on any other album. Like I feel like it's a real progression.
It is
Edward's art.
It's definitely a quantum leap in songwriting for all of them. Yeah,
all of them.
And again, no covers. No,
this is Eddie. Eddie took over. He's like, this. That's enough. That the tide just it swung there for a few albums where, Eddie had accumulated enough sort of credit or power to pull off Fair Warning. It failed financially, according to the dictates of the business at the time.
Yeah.
And then so the producer takes over the next album, and they have a hit with Pretty Woman, and Eddie's like, I see where this is going now. So that's by building the studio, he knew that he just physically had control of whatever he was working on. Like he had the tapes.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're not coming through the gates unless Eddie asks you to come.
Yeah. He's the king of the castle at that point.
Yep. So
then they end up parting ways after Dave decides to do an EP of more cover songs and weirdness. Crazy from the Heat. And then they split up for a while. And I don't really want to go into, and we hadn't planned on going into any of the Van Hagar stuff. So
no interest.
Same. All right. So then they decided to come out with his greatest hits album, and they record 2 songs with Dave. Me Wise Magic and You Can't Get That Stuff No More.
I like both songs. They sound like a new '90s Van Halen.
They do. They definitely sound like the next step forward in what Van Halen could have been. And
exactly.
I love Me Wise Magic. You Can't Get That Stuff No More. I'm not so crazy about, but I love Me Wise Magic.
Yeah, Me Wise Magic it's really odd piece of music. And it's like at that time where Eddie is writing some really obtuse material, But again, Dave saves it. And by the times, but in the 90s, like Sammy just didn't know what to do with Eddie's music. It was just getting so, not just kind of twisted up. And it was hard for a straight ahead rocker to come up with vocals that worked over a lot of that stuff. And Gary Sharon, twisted himself into pretzels trying to come up with melodies on that shit, and it just didn't work, but Dave could do it.
Dave, he's the only one. I mean, Gary lasted one album.
If they took all the music for Van Halen 3, this is a good idea. Take Gary Sharon's vocals off of Van Halen 3 and have Eddie write new melodies have Dave write new melodies to all of those songs.
that would be, it's funny because I don't even remember any of the songs off of 3.
I can't picture one in my head either.
I remember the cover, that big fat guy getting blown away by a cannonball.
Such a terrible album cover.
It really is.
I think it was Alex's idea.
That's
awful.
He was a full-blown alcoholic at that time anyway, so that makes sense. And then they take a hiatus from everything for years and years and come back, about 5 years ago with A Different Kind of Truth. Which seems to be a ton of old demos re-recorded.
Well, they always kind of worked like that. This is just a continuation of, like Van Halen 2 was just Van Halen 1 leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
So there was lots of stuff in the can. But by the time Roth left the band, Eddie was not interested in going back to that stuff. He was excitedly writing music for a new vocalist. So he was like, no, let's come up with a new brand of Van Halen, right?
Yeah.
Music. So for Dave's stuff, I guess Eddie only had a couple new ideas around. As Is new.
That's a great song.
Chinatown is new.
Yeah,
so
I know Bullethead is old because I remember seeing bootlegs of
most of them are old.
demos.
She's the Woman, Bullethead, those are old songs, but Dave reworked vocals on them, and I think Dave did an outstanding job.
Yeah.
His lyrics are at, I think, a peak on this record, actually.
Now, what pisses me off is basically the whole Michael Anthony problem. After they recorded 1984, I don't know exactly how you can do this except for the fact that, maybe Michael Anthony isn't the strongest personality in the group. They forced Michael Anthony to sign a contract, basically making him a studio player in the band. He didn't get any of the credits. He got no points for the album. He got nothing. So
Eddie had been trying to edge him out since Diver Down, apparently.
That's such a shame. I mean, he's a good bassist. He's not an incredible bassist, but I rate him very highly. Like, listen to the jazzy stuff he does on Girl Gone Bad and stuff. It's really, really great. I miss him. His vocals. Yeah. His vocals, Van Halen wouldn't have had the harmonies without him. It would have been flat. Well, no running with the devil. Exactly. And so when they decided to do all these new stuff, they didn't even bother inviting. They pulled old Led Zeppelin, John Paul Jones, and just invited Eddie's son to play bass. Yeah, who did a great job, but he has a different style completely. Yeah. I think, I really like his playing on the record. I have no problem with it. I prefer Mikey's touch, but it's not a major complaint for me. It's a very minor complaint for me. I think they sound fine without him as well. I think they do, but I just don't like. I don't know if it's hard just because it's hard. Like it's like saying, Led Zeppelin reunited, but without John Paul Jones. They did. It was called Page and Plant. But they called it Page and Plant. Yeah, they didn't call it Van Halen. Yeah. Well, they probably wouldn't have called it Van Halen either. But they didn't call it Led Zeppelin. They called it Unleaded. But, it's to me it runs in that same vein. It's it would be one thing if I don't know he was a drug addict or something, but and couldn't do it, play the part anymore. But he's completely capable, and from all accounts, one of the sweetest people on the planet.
Anyway, it's a great album. Pt2 sucks.
It is. It does. That's the worst song on the album.
I thought they were tanked. I was like, this is gonna suck. I was so disappointed. And then I got the album the day it came out, and I skipped Pt2 and I started She's the Woman, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is them.
I did something
Blood
different.
and Fire to me. Sorry, go ahead.
I heard Т2 and I was like, I'm not getting it. And I didn't get it
Me
for
too.
like years.
I was so scared. Yeah.
I didn't get it until like 2 years ago.
No one was more excited about this album than me. No one was more let down than Т2. I sound like Trump right now.
Yeah.
I love Blood and Fire. That song to me is almost like could have been on Diver Down.
Yeah. I could definitely see that.
That's the vibe. Bouncy, kind of like slightly wistful. I love Bullethead, man. That's like the return of like the punky, fair warning-y, like, whoa,
that
fast. Dave's lyrics are genius on that track.
I love Chinatown. Honey Baby Sweetie Doll is really cool. Basically, it's really hard for me to pick one I don't like, and it's except for Т2.
Outer Space sounds like Van Halen 1.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, and apparently, I'm looking at the checklist. They had a deluxe edition DVD where they did versions of Panama, You and Your Blues, and Beautiful Girls.
Acoustic, it's really bad.
Is it? I haven't heard it. It's bad. Oh man,
Eddie can't play acoustic, man. He's like, it's a different instrument.
Yeah,
it just sounds weird.
Oh man,
if that's the thing we're talking about. It is that.
Yeah, it's just the bonus deluxe edition DVD. I'll have to look it up just so I can hear how bad it is. It's kind of one of those. It's like a traffic accident.
It's not terrible. It's obviously not terrible, but it's like it's just.
It's not as exciting.
Not
All right. Well, I think we've hit all 7 of the Roth albums. So, if you had to pick one, we know 84 is both of our favorites. What can you imagine if they had been able to hold it together? What they could have done between 84 and A Different Kind of Truth?
Well, it's hard to say what the next album would have sounded like, but Me Wise Magic gives you a pretty good idea of like how it would have gotten weirder, but still good, still interesting.
I don't think there'd be an Is This Love or Love Comes Walking In or any other song with the word love in it.
No.
David Lee Roth isn't big on love.
No. We wouldn't have those kind of songs for sure.
So, all right, man. Well, is there anything else we want to add to this?
Not really.
I think we've
said my piece.
I think we've summarized it pretty well. And if anybody listening hasn't heard these albums, you definitely got to go out and listen to them. It'll change your life. To use that old cliche. So have you done any Van Halen covers?
No, but I remember when we were recording the second Blink of the Star album, Ken and I would get on the drums and he would play DOA and we would jam that.
Oh man,
take a break sometimes, which was
fun. Dude, I'd love to hear that.
Oh, and also, one night there was like a radio contest when we were touring on August Everywhere, and they had this contest in DC where the winner of the contest hosted us playing at your house, and you have a house party.
Oh wow!
So we ended up in the suburbs playing at this like house party, like these like
Oh my God.
middle-aged party animals, and we played all night. They were just like, play more. So we're like trying to do. If two people in the band knew a song, we would do that cover.
Oh my
And
God.
we actually tried to do Jump. It was hilarious.
Oh.
Yeah, thank God it doesn't exist.
Oh damn.
Memory.
Oh man, I'd love to hear that. Oh, that's awesome. All right, man. Well, we'll be definitely doing more of these. We've got a whole lot of other topics to talk about. Jordon and I have made a list, and we'll be getting together every once in a while and doing these based on your schedule, Jordon, because I know mine's pretty. I kind of know when I'm going to be open.
Cool. All right.
So, all right, guys. Well, thank you guys for listening. This has been a blast to do, and we'll do another one here before too long.
We shall.